All right, Senator, we're going to start now.
My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Focus on Liberia Between the Headlines. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. This time on Between the Headlines, we are having a conversation one-on-one with Senator Conmany B Wesseh, as the senator from River G. He's outgoing. And we are so happy to have you, Senator Wesseh. Happy New Year, and welcome to Focus on Liberia once again.
Happy New Year. It's a pleasure to be with you after a long time.
Been a long time. How have you been? How's family? How's everything in Monrovia? And how's River G?
Great.
Good.
Actually doing well.
Great. Senator,
Yes,
we
but
are
you
happy.
know,
Mhm. No, go ahead.
no, basically to say, my health is good. God is good, and thank God for my family. It's been a pleasure to be, now starting a new life. There are certain things that may be uncertain, but that's good. That's part of life. Generally, part of life.
Good.
So I have to keep this thing silent. Yeah.
All right. Good. So just to start with, the elections are over. I know they were highly, competitive. At the end, you didn't win. What happened?
I didn't win. That's what happened.
Why you lost?
Because the people of River G decided to vote the way they voted. Um, you know, electoral politics, once you're in it, you know that you can judge the minds and behavior of individuals who are going to make a decision about you. They can find one reason today, and it can be the same person, same person who had a reason. This reason may come back tomorrow and have another reason. So at the moment, we can say that it's been that's what we fought for in our country. We said we wanted for people to participate in elections. There should be competitive processes. And in this particular case, and this is not the first time, it has worked against me. And the same people and had another opportunity, and they came and voted overwhelmingly for me. This time around, they voted the way they voted.
Hmm. What were they voting on? What were some of the issues? What did they say you didn't do right?
It's been difficult. I mean, to pinpoint things. What we do know is that, especially this part of Liberia that we are from the southeastern part of Liberia, is easily the most deprived part of Liberia. In River G, for example, there is hardly any industry that people will, go to find work to do. So when somebody is elected, their tendency is to want the person to do everything for them.
Yeah.
So in the past administration, I think they worked very hard on the use of poverty, the politics that are called the weaponization of poverty. Our place being one of the deprived, so people took advantage of their deprived condition and and did what it did. Play on the minds of our people, play on them. They don't have it. It's not a joke when somebody comes and says they don't have money for food, when they ask for when the clinics, the hospitals were not functioning, and they all believe that it's the legislators, especially the Senate, that is responsible, because that's the people they see
Right.
responsible. The people will be voting for George Weah, and yet don't see that when you do not have medicine in a hospital, when you do not, and people come with bags of money and throwing that around, they don't ask the question, where is
Mhm.
this man getting the money from?
Right.
When there are no drugs in the hospital, when there is no when teachers are not being paid, nurses, health workers are not being paid, striking all the time. So where this person coming from with 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 Liberian dollars and throwing them around, you know? And if you are asking the question and telling them that that's not the way governance
Right.
is, they think you cheap. They all your friends there got it. How come you don't have it? But I don't have it. That's not. I
Mhm.
don't intend to get money like that. I don't think that's the proper way. You know. So so that's why we call it the use of poverty
Mhm.
to do politics. That's strange.
Right.
Strange. You weaponize poverty, and people are whipped by their poverty. And so when you throw a piece of bread to them, they jump at it. And they think that the person who is throwing the bread is the person who loves them.
Right.
They don't realize, why is it, to deal with the question of why do we not have it? Why do we not paid? Why are we expecting this senator to pay our teachers from their pocket? And even when you do that, people have needs. How much them? We've been hearing a name, the man, that big man, coming to Wizard, everybody knows him. So that
Right.
is supposed to the equality of resources that
Exactly.
should be in my pocket.
So, so,
Because the
Senator,
year
so,
who
Senator,
spend the
how?
money in Morovia or from this place, they say other people got money. They only one senator, he won't give us. He won't give us. Then hardly anything you explain. Yes, successfully did it in the southeast. That's why he got 80% of the vote, more than 80% of the vote in the southeast. And meaning from Grandjede, from Grandjede, from River G, from Grand Cru, from Sino, from Maryland, and River Cess. That is what happened.
Yeah.
Weaponization of poverty.
But Senator, how does
Yeah.
your opponent, Mr. Dopo, will use that? How does it benefit him? Both of you are from the same place. Both of you don't have money. So how will that condition you just explained, it make a lot of sense? How does that benefit your opponent who defeated you?
Well, I frankly try to stay away from
I
what
know.
others. Yeah, and I really don't. How they got it, how they did it, where they got their resources from, what they. I'm not going into that, but I know that Mr. Weah boastfully said that he was going to do everything to get me out
Okay.
because of where I stood on many issues, and he did it. I mean, he didn't joke.
Right. So,
But
so he put the
I don't
resources
want
in your opponent's campaign. That's what you mean.
I don't want to give I don't want to give Mr. Weah or anybody the 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 credence or reason to think that they successfully did what happened. All I know is that the people voted and I did not get the majority vote. So that's all, that's enough. There are too many stories about what happened. People have come, even today, people were coming and telling me about things that happened during the elections. I paid no attention. I did not even want to raise questions. You know, I just accepted and we'll move on.
Yeah. So let's move on.
I think I'm a believer, probably more than a politician. I say everything that happens happens for the good, and
So, so
believing
looking,
in God's hand.
so looking back now, what could you have done differently in the Senate?
What would I have done?
Yeah, that would have
No,
helped
I'm
you.
not. I'm not. They didn't vote for me for what I did in the Senate.
Oh, okay.
The vote was not about what I did in the Senate. As for what I did in the Senate, I think I performed very well, and it tells. On all the critical issues, I was on the right side. On all of the critical issues that came before the Senate, the purpose for which I was elected, whether in making laws, doing my oversight responsibility, and representing the people of River G. I think I did my best. I think it is because I did my best that my colleagues even recognize that. You know, I mean, when they reach the senators, the incoming senators, and the sitting senators that constitute the 55th legislature, I was honored, and I want to thank the President pro tempore and the other leaders who felt that for their retreat that prepares them for tomorrow to begin their 55th Senate, I should be the one to facilitate the retreat for all the senators. That's an honor. If I wasn't doing anything good at all, you know, nobody would call me for such a role.
So what
The people
specific?
in River were not paying attention to such things. It was not about, they were not voting about what I am doing, how I represented them in the Senate. I mean, many people voted about what they claim. Some, I say some, using intentional. That some say they're counting how much I put in a packet or what they thought I should have so much money. I'm a senator. You've been there 9 years. Look at your friend them who can just come and drop three, even the one who are not senators, who are handling money otherwise. They come around in our county and just threw money around. So how come if all these people, sometimes just their relation to the president, having some special relationship with the president, can make them spend so much money? How can you all supposed to be thieves anyway? So you should all.
But Senator, what is responsible for that kind of mindset? I believe it is not in River G alone, or it's not in the Southeast alone. It's like the whole country. What's responsible for that?
Well, we need to do something more about our country, about helping our people to. I mean, you will ask me, I get out in the morning outside my house, and you see pile of dead. I mean, trash. Really pick bags of trash from another community or from maybe 2 or 3 houses away, and they come and they just drop the bag or rice, empty rice, full of trash, and just drop it in front of your house. You wake up in the morning, that's what you see. You clean. If you clean it up, by the time you turn your back, it just don't seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, it is, and it can change. It can change by the when we address the leadership question. So not all good people will win elections. You know, just think about it. the people, I mean, for all the great work you all have done over there, if you were to go for elections, you know, ask if anybody will think about what you're doing. They will say what you brought,
Yeah.
you know. So it's painful, but we have to do something about our country. Something is fundamentally wrong with our country. So the reason why the Southeast suffers like this is because the Southeast is the most deprived part of the country. How come you ask them, why are you voting 80% for George Weah? I mean, nobody tells you anything. They tell you, oh, our son. But listen, to come from Monrovia, we were cut off both ways. Whether you take the road from Bassa and you're passing through River Says,
Right.
a Grand Cru to get to the other parts of the Southeast. You can make it for half of the year. Any vehicle goes will spend at least 1 week on the road, at least, sometimes 3 weeks. We were going, some people had to go through Cote d'Ivoire. They go through, it's a shame. Yet, and they know that medicines, even that privately are bought, can't get to them because of the bad roads. Even their food, because now they got to carry food, everything. It doesn't matter. They said they were voting for their son, George Weah.
And you said the problem is, you said we should address the leadership question to fix these things. What is the leadership question? Is it president?
And it's a national leadership question. That's why it's important when you saw the people voting, they voted, and they voted this time, I say nearly 50-50, but they voted and they were very clear that Mr. Weah would not get it like that on the silver platter as he got the first time. So they recognize something is wrong with the leadership. Now, what we have now is to do everything so that people realize that we have to pay attention to what becomes it's not about John Brown, voting for John Brown. We have to know what are the policies and things that we want to enforce. What I say, for example, in something affecting our leadership, this last administration, that the outgoing administration, I think clearly put it. They will say, and I keep saying it, I will refer to it when I say, you have a recruitment of ignorance. We have the recruitment of ignorance. We have linked to that ignorance is arrogance. And then thirdly, corruption. And all of them are interrelated. Because even those who are thieves, who are stealing and involved in all this corruption, sometimes they don't realize that what they are doing constitute stealing. Some who can barely know right, or they believe what they're doing is the right thing anyway, and they are not prepared to learn. They don't have the patience to learn. So they are arrogant, very arrogant. And it is not going to be left, with Weah alone.
Right.
Some of the people now who want certain jobs under this administration, their reference point is, but we did it too. At our time, we suffer too much all the time here.
And we're going to come to that.
So on any kind of, whether they qualify for it or not, they want it.
They want it.
And that's what
the role of the Senate, because this business of the Senate, you said, one of the reasons is because people look at, those that are doing these capital projects. So the role of the Senate or the legislature has been changed completely. So they tell you, I mean, you will hear things like Thomas Fowler, look at Sir Joseph, look at Thomas Fowler, Prince Johnson University. So
Mhm.
if you are not doing these things, then too bad for you. How have we become that way? And what is going to change that?
Well, I really think there's a very significant role for the executive. It has to, the president is a very powerful position. I mean, people used to think it's only with us, but just watch what's going on in the United States with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not even president, and see how he's holding the whole state up. Just on things that will happen anywhere, even in Europe, that the president will not stay. The president will be in jail. Donald Trump had done everything. He can talk. He can insult the judge, insult this, and do that. The presidency is so powerful, and we took quite a bit of those things from the United States. So when you have a government, the president does not ask any question about the performance of his officials. I mean, not a word. If you listen to some of the stories, many members of the cabinet cabinet ministers hardly had access to the president. They never saw the president. So you just go in your corner and use your ministry as a cash cow for yourself. Never fire anybody except those last minute to the time that you had a little problem with, and somebody else will be complaining, and you will just act. But it was not about poor performance, no matter what you say about it, that he will take an action. He paid no attention to it anyway. We will hope, and because of the experience of our current, elected president and the young vice president, we hope that they will have some time to pay to governance, including what people you gave a piece of job to, what they're doing, and what you require them to do. Now that's the broad governance question. We like to talk about other places. We can sit here. Now, my wife and my children just came back from Ghana. I remember when we were in exile in Ghana, when Jerry Rawlings talking about leadership. I mean, the transformation of Ghana began. And today, Ghana is incredibly developing. Look at the country that went through war with us, Rwanda, and what's going on there. I mean, our kids are looking for scholarship to go to Rwanda to school. Liberians are and when they come back, any visitor, the first thing they talk about is how clean the city is. Are we saying that it's this filth that in Liberia, especially Monrovia, that we only Liberians know how to produce garbage? It's leadership.
But Senator, you are saying all this thing is the president's fault. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I'm saying leadership. You need the example is important for the leader, the president, the person who is the head of state. The countries we are talking about, there was an example of what happened with them. If the United States talks about, since you're in the United States, so I'm just if the United States talk about transformations in their society, who they call names of presidents. Yeah? When they say the New Deal, when they say John Quincy Adams era that brought in modernization of the United States, they link it to a president. To a president. That is the important role of the president.
Let me link few
And
things to you, right? We are.
sorry,
I said let me link the linker to the president. I agree, but let me link few things to you. You were in charge of modernizing the 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 legislative house, right?
right?
It's something you headed. We saw Mary Brawl go in there and say the place was dirty and carrying and almost like demonstrating the place is this way and talking about the dirt, the filth in the Capitol building. We also saw a few days ago that they had a water system for the first time in many years, a water system being going to be established in the Capitol building. So I was wondering about Senator Wesseh had been in charge of this. What did you do?
No, no, you that again, if you ask the right question, you've got a proper answer. The modernization of the legislature has it began with the issue of policies that we do policy reforms.
Mhm.
Then we do physical reforms.
The
But
physical.
there is a department in the legislature that is called rule, rules, order, and administration. Rule, order, administration. That one is the one that handles all of that about maintenance in the building, making sure that you know, and that's what they do. The modernization is, for example, one to be changed. We want to make improvement in the rules. We want to do to make the departments to be functional. No, that's what we try to deal with, and we do it as one of those that is a joint committee with members from the House of Representatives and from the Senate. So that is what we did. For example, if you see the two wings of the legislature, after an appeal to the Chinese government that we needed space to work, they were not having was hampering and hindering the work of legislators. So we're able to get the Japanese, the Chinese support. And when the Chinese were building those two, I was with them. When we saw certain things, certain structural issues with the two wings, I was there. And we made those changes. The Chinese allow me to make the proper observation. I share it with colleagues, and they thought it was great. And the Chinese made those changes. We stayed with them. If you see the work schedules of the construction of those two, those are things I'm very proud of. I played a significant role. It improved the work of the more we were succeeding, you know, in a place like this. It was when there was no money that I was personally handling, the budget that I was handling. It was a budget that the donors worked with them and they trusted me. And I'm very happy for the successes we made. So that's one example. If you see the water situation now,
Right.
it was a policy that we have to do it. And who were the ones that needed to enforce it? It was rules and order. So the rules and order chair, the person who was chair, is the one who is likely to become the president pro tempore. So I think it seems like um, she put in all of the effort, and of course the outgoing pro tempore, is aware that his image was bad. The image of the Senate was bad to have the legislature the way it was. Of course, in the House side, the what we did is benefiting the whole building,
Mhm.
but it is that pressure, and again, more people began to hear the incoming administration talking about, look, whatever you do, we're going to audit, we're going to check on you, we want to see performance. So it's possible that type of pressure. And people believe, again, the public action leads to a certain belief because the president says, this is what I want. This is what I want to see done.
Yeah.
And you see people begin to take actions. I'm very happy.
Good, and we'll come to that. But let me ask you one more question on the Senate, the extra sitting. Actually, I was shocked when I heard all this money. The last time we were here, we asked our senator, how much money does the senator make? You said we should check the budget. I checked the budget, I didn't find it. But it said in any time for your extra sitting, the president gave you a month's salary, right? Month benefit. So you have the staffers, they were demonstrating for 3 days, the Senate staffers, and among other things, they were protesting for that for the extra sitting, the senators were paid, they were given over $1 million, which they divided $60,000 each, and they did not give their staffers. They took on this protest for 3 days. Our reporters cover it, and at the end, what really happened? Did you receive the extra sitting fee and did not share with the staffers? Is that the story?
First, the story you're telling is not true. That's the first thing to start with. You know, you saw when something that has become a practice from the outgoing administration. Sometimes for 6 months, they would not give allowances, and sometimes even salaries and stuff are not given. And when there is a certain bill that they have a lot of interest in, it is at that time that they want to pay for all the things that they were withholding. Mm-hmm. Now, this is what has happened all throughout. And so the public gets the view, and that is why the turnover is so high in the legislature. Because the public gets the view that they don't have the things they have because we are consuming those things. Yeah. So Mr. Wolokoti is coming for confirmation hearing, and he lets the public know that, you know, I mean, this is the type of money we are paying these people. For the last 6 months, even those of us leaving the legislature now have not received a dime in our gas. For the sitting, when you invite senators or the legislature back from their recess or from their home
break.
We don't call it agriculture break. It's not an agriculture break. Okay. It's a constituency visit. Okay. That you have a period of your year to go to your constituency. While you're there, you can do agriculture, you can do plenty of things. And people don't sleep when you are there. In fact, people look forward to it getting short because you can't sleep. Everybody, all the pregnant people, all the women who are pregnant, their husbands now come to your door. As if it was your arrival that made a woman pregnant for you to pay this and the children's school fees, the hospital fees, everything, no medicine, the teachers who have not been paid, all to your door. So when you invite this person to come back, let's assume the person went to Sassandra. You know, when we talk in the Southeast, when we're growing up, Sassandra was like a faraway place. Nonway was just across the river. So the other people say Halifax, but that is a little far away. So you got to go to Canada, right? So you go to Halifax. Then they tell you to come back from Halifax so to deal with a big issue that the government think is so urgent. It is their responsibility to have in their planning to know that this was a necessity. So if you don't do that and you take this person from Halifax to come, you want the man from Halifax to pay, and we need to have a quorum. So you want this person from Halifax to come and pay his fare to come from Halifax back to Monrovia. That is why there exists that practice. That when you do that, which is different from when the legislators themselves 1/4 of them resolution for an extension. When they do it and they agree, it most often happens when they are in session already and they are already in town. So they do this and they can continue. And when that happens, they don't get anything. And I must tell you, for the two recalls that has happened by the executive, as I speak today, and my term is ended tomorrow, that a different group taking over.
Right.
I have not gotten an alert on my phone for the payment that you're talking about. I have not received one gas, one what do you call it? I haven't received 1 gallon of fuel. So the man put up that figure of 1.3 million to get to exactly put you in this frame of mind that, oh, this is what these people do. They eat all our money. A good Conmany B Wesseh was not re-elected. You see, that was the objective. That's what the regime has done throughout. You didn't hear this type of approach during the past administration of Mr. Sully. It didn't happen like that. Most times they would negotiate very well in advance, knowing instead of people leaving and letting them come back, you encourage them to sign on to their self-recall.
Right. So just to be clear, you said for the past 6 months you did not get gas, but you got paid. I just want to be clear on that. Or you didn't get paid for 6 months, or is it a gas?
Oh, I got paid. I got paid to December. Yes.
Right. Senator, if you can, as you go out, how much the senators make, especially after harmonization? How much they make now?
Because it's paid sometimes in Liberian. I mean, not for since it was a percentage of it goes in Liberian dollars, and but it comes to like $7,500 or $8,000.
Oh, all right. There are many questions here. Some are saying like the way the people, you go back, all the pregnant women to the door, you get up, people are lined up. Some of our viewers are saying, well, it's the senators and the representatives that enable these people. Others are saying, well, if you as a senator or representative, you don't put in place those laws, those policies that are going to address the concern of these pregnant women, then they will come to your door. What do you think?
But I'm telling you, that's why I say that's what you call policy changes. If our party, if people are voting on the policy parties and stuff, they would rather vote on those who are saying, look, this is the way we're going to spend our money.
Okay.
This is how we're going to spend our budget. We use our budget to make sure schools are functioning, and these public schools will be functioning, that the hospitals will be functioning, and all of that will get in place. The university, that this is the way to fund university education funded differently. So if that is the policy of this administration, it has pleasure, at least those of us who are progressive minded, we don't have pleasure in being the one who able to give people who come to our doors. We got to give them water, we got to pay for this, and that's not what I believe in. I don't believe in that. I believe that if our policy make sure that we budget properly for all the services that must be provided, then, I mean, why should look, if you look at what I've done for myself in the last 9 years, my houses that I have were all gotten when I was not a legislator. I could do contracts, in fact, I was in civil society work doing, I could do many things that would bring me money. Since I became senator, I've not been able, I have not been to to um, to build a house. You know, on the contrary, I mean, when I'm talking about build a house, personal, I've tried something in Tilican town, you know, but it's taking me longer time because at the same time, I'm building a school that is costing me in a leg. This is the school that I started. I learned my ABC. It's still going on. The building, now, the people were in thatch houses for the time the school was started in 1960. There were thatch houses that was being used or very bad zinc on it. So we now have a modern school building. It's not completed yet. I'm still looking for money to complete it, but it's a modern school attached to which we want teachers' quarters. That's a modern facility. So I put my money into such a thing. I've
Thank
gone
you.
to several places, and in every district, I have a role about building schools, paying teachers, and contributing to the health sector.
Yeah, thank you. Every time you, we sometimes joke about, you say every time you talk to a senator, we say you go to school every day, school. So I'm a witness that you are not in the business of giving people money out of this, but you always encourage people to go to school and do such things. Let's go to the transition. We have a new government coming into play, and there's high expectation because what we saw, many believe, during the past 6 years was not where we wanted to be. So now I'm talking about the transition. Now we are transitioning to the Bwaka government. There has been reports that the transition is not proceeding well, and the current government or the outgoing we are government, there are people there that are not cooperating, but the transitional team is pretending that things are going well just to show that, okay, we don't want any trouble here. What's your assessment of the transition so far? And you being member of the Unity Party.
Well, I don't think any transition is expected to be so smooth.
Okay.
Who've been in power, who've been handling resources, and they have huge uncertainty in front of them. They went into the election to win, and they were sure on winning. Some of them were prepared to do just anything to win, and that is where President Weah surprised everyone when he decided to accept the outcome of the elections, because some of the people really wanted a fight. You know, they were not ready for it. But the other thing is, because they were not ready, genuinely, they may not be able to organize themselves to hand over certain things.
Right.
They do not have the proper records. Some of them do not. Some of them have not written anything. Some, because the president didn't even require them to write reports. So suddenly they're giving a couple of months, 2 months, to write reports. And I'm telling you, I've had stories of some of the people that were imposed on some of the leaders in these agencies. Some people were imposed that it's supposed to be secretary, supposed to be this. When the man can't even handle a computer, you know, so he can't even do it. So I told you, part of the problem was the huge recruitment of ignorance. Then you had this huge base of ignorance. Then they were arrogant. But this arrogance is because arrogance comes from not knowing what to do. So the first thing to do is to fuss. When somebody says it ought to be done like this. Look at that man there. He led to tell people that they didn't know anything. So I will not do it. You can report me. And then you look, some of the ministers were complaining, or some senior people, complaining. They can't get a report done. They can't get a report done. So I think realistically, some of the problems that the transition team may be having, I mean, from the incoming government side, is because the people they're dealing with just don't know what to do. Then
So
you
what
also have
do
those
you
who are
think?
not willing to
Right,
cooperate. There's
but
another part to it, genuinely unwilling to cooperate.
the Bwaka team is not transparent about that. They're not coming for. They are not telling us, and they are painting a rosy picture that is not realistic.
Well, I think if I were on it, if I were advising them, I would advise them similarly. You can't be spending all the time complaining. Nobody will care about you. They say, "Oh man, they ain't know what to do." That's why. So you giving the guy, like, professionals, yes, but this time you deal like you trying to help, and you in the business of teaching and stuff, to keep the children to get interested. You have to give them hope. They keep complaining, the giant war for them. This is what interesting. So they ain't able. Whole day you complaining. They said, okay, now do it. If you do it like that, you will not get what you want. So I think that they're acting properly by not being on a confrontational course. It's not that they want to just praise them. I think they're doing the right thing because they are quite a good number of them are experienced and they know how to get a result. I'm not saying there are no faults as well from that side, but let's watch it. It's just a couple of days from now that Waka will be in the seat.
Right, because we are afraid it happened before where transition took place and everybody is complaining, oh, how much was in the coffers is zero. Some say is this one. There were no turnover notes. Who did this? Or Ellen constructed this kilometer. I mean, and there was so much confusion. Up till this day, we don't know what was left. So when the incoming administration, the transitional team is not transparent about these things, that gets all jittery. Is that not a fair concern?
Well, I think also you have to be uh, the fact is that Ellen administration had a turnover note requirement from every ministry and agency. Those notes were there. In fact, the other day I was talking with Madam Sirleaf. We're talking about some of the things that some people say that no audit was done, and then we say, and the old lady was explaining, the former president was explaining, I don't remember, that there were some concerns about things on the central bank and the construction of the mansion. There were audited accounts that was given to the president, pro-president Weah, and say, if you have any question, please come, let's discuss.
Right. And
So it's
Senator
not.
Peter, that's my point, right? So if the incoming Bwaka administration is having this issue, let's say if they are not getting turnover notes, if these things are not required, there is not cooperation. Shouldn't just them give us little hint that things are maybe little challenging? Instead, they're not telling about. Let's move on. Let's move on to the inaugural, right? According to the UP, according to the Unity Party, there is a promise of $5,000 each to each of these counties through the representative to celebrate the inauguration of JMB throughout the country. Do you think there's a wise use of the country resources? We are broke.
Well, I don't know about this being through the representatives. Maybe I hear one representative say something to that effect.
Mhm.
What I do know is that the Unity Party has been trying to raise some resources that instead of people coming from the counties and coming to Monrovia, is to cut down the cost. So stay in your county and you'll have some small get together around the. So there was a suggestion for like $5,000 a piece. So that 5,000 times 15 counties each. That is not to break down the country. that would not break down the country.
Yes.
If you were to allow people to just come, as Tottenham inauguration used to be, when the people used to get on the ship coming from, especially from the southeast, and they
Right.
come a minute, they will come and don't even go back. When
Right.
you do that, even those already began to come. They're already getting to get our houses full in our houses. They
And
come.
that's why you don't need to do that, right?
Yes, so
So I'm thinking that 5,000, if you give it to Sino County, what really they're going to do with it? People going to come from
what
Dudukan. I mean,
is,
what is that?
is,
It doesn't make sense to me.
is better than nothing. The people come together. They will send their chiefs. You see, after the money is gotten, the idea is to send it make sure that each district gets a share of that. So you might think it's nothing, but for the people, even if they allow them to a few people representing the different towns come and eat and feast on a cow together, the story is that they in this inauguration and they ate it. You know our tradition, so it's representational.
Right.
Nobody nobody intend to use the inauguration to fill their stomachs. It's not that purpose. It's a ceremony, and we want to make sure that people will
Everybody
manage with it. Yeah.
gets. Really, the expectations from President-elect Bouaka are very high, and because the UP promises to a departure from President Weah. So should the GMB government or should Mr. Bouaka himself be in the business of trying to intervene in who becomes the speaker or pro tem or all kinds of things? I mean, the other day there were representatives at his house to kind of discuss these kind of issues. People see it as inducement. Some say the brown envelope that was used by President Sirleaf and all these things. Should President Bouaka be involved in that?
Well, I don't know about. I do know that the president is trying to make sure that he gets his people in the legislature, in the leadership of the legislature, because
That's clear on the we
in
say that
the,
that is in the report everywhere. They
in
are
the in
supporting
legislature.
they are supporting Mr. Kuhn to become the speaker, and that's the approach from the Unity Party.
Yeah, I'm saying that is not. I'm not. I'm not finding it surprising, and no crime involved.
Right.
The president needs to make sure that, especially in our part of the world or wherever, that you're interested in who becomes the legislative leaders, because all the critical issues must be put on the floor and managed by those leaders.
Mhm.
So especially in the case today, where in take the Senate, they have the majority people there, so they have to consult and try to get good people who are sympathetic to the Unity Party programs. If we don't have that, then to implement the program will be difficult.
Mhm.
Similarly, in the House, that is why the consultation is going on. And so far, I think I'm happy that in spite of all the rigmarole, by the end of the day tomorrow, we will have a speaker. By the end of the day tomorrow, we will have a president pro tempore.
Mhm.
I was involved with the 30 senators who were in Farmington.
Mhm.
I was invited. I was honored to be invited as the facilitator, as I pointed out earlier.
Yeah.
So the atmosphere was good. They talked to each other. They were talking about their leadership, and I think they had a general understanding, that is most likely to produce the a president pro tempore who is, you know, who has who is one of the, as they call, as they are called, the rescue
Right.
senators.
Exactly. And that's the issue, right? Because we've seen this a lot, starting with President Salif, who was using, people call it the brown envelope, to be able to influence things so that things will go her way. Even trying to get this representative to be the speaker and all that, and there was too much fight. We saw that with President Weah, and it went all the way to coming together to impeach people and do all kinds of things. So when we see something like that coming, I was told by one old man, he said, it is the how the red palm oil load that were encouraging you to eat the dry rice. So if we see anything like that from President Boakai doing the same thing, it's like we are not out of the woods here. It's still the same thing, the same business as usual in the house, in both houses.
No, well, I mean, you see, it's easy to make the point about we saw. I I was in the Ellen Sullivan administration, and Boakai JNB was the vice president,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure that the policy, there was a policy supported by Mrs. Sirleaf and Boakai that was leading to brown envelopes being the way to determine anything.
Okay.
And there were actions taken, about behavior of certain people. And it was under the Salif administration, during the Salif administration, that action were taken even against the Unity Party chairperson, and there was no sacred cow. So if anybody thinks that Boakai will act differently, there will be no sacred cow. I don't think there will be any secret cow. And the way the public is so sharp now, any secret cow issues will be blown apart. And I would think that if people are involved with brown enveloping, I am sure it will not take long before it gets in the public domain. This time, it will not happen. I think people are. You are there. All the different media people will be around picking up information here and there. And don't hesitate. Just make sure you don't be part of a campaign of slander against anybody. Make sure that you have the facts right. You might not have all, but I'm available to the extent that I am inside. I'll be able to answer questions posed to me.
Thank you. The speakership, there were reports in online newspapers saying, hey, Unity Party is contemplating going to the Supreme Court to challenge the citizenship of Mr. Councillor Funati Kofa. Is that true? You are in the Unity Party, and why this time?
Well, I mean, I think some consultations have been going on. I heard the candidate for the Unity Party for the speakership is saying that I mean, they're not pressing that issue anymore. They think they can test their strength on the floor. So I am not in. I was very busy with the Senate process in out of town in Farmington. And I came to town and got involved, like today, with my little bit of church activities and many other stuff that I have not gone to investigate exactly where we stand. And I will check it out. I will check it out before the end of the day.
Yeah, because passports are flying around. Even they say Funati, there's their U.S. passport, Kun, U.S. passport. In fact, somebody sent Amara Connors U.S. passport, and So this thing about going after citizenship at this time, is Kuhn leaving it alone now because that too is back in fire because his passport is out and people say you too you are U.S. citizen. I mean, Senator, we said where does this whole thing about challenging citizenship, you are not liberal, where is it coming from?
Well, we made a law that said that only people with Liberian people, though we passed a dual citizen law, what we say multi-citizen law, but there were some restrictions. So
Yeah.
that's where people are from. And it's really coming because people are looking for anything that they think will benefit them in a tight race election. We don't have that situation in the Senate. In the Senate meetings that I associated with, and my colleagues who manage the process, I think they did it very well, mutual leadership.
Right.
And, so I'm sure a solution will be found tonight. And the way we'll know what has happened, what will happen is when I don't know about anything in any court. I have not heard about any um, action of court that will prevent the election tomorrow in the House of Representatives. I don't know
Because
about any such thing.
it
I'm
is
one of those who believe that in case of anything, it's better for people to go to the court than to do anything otherwise.
I don't know even what that standing will be in the court to do that. But generally, uh, that action, if that was something that they were contemplating, or you said the Senate was more mature, do you believe going after Funati Kofa for citizenship was immature?
Well, I think if somebody thinks about using court, it's certainly better than somebody taking cutlass. We want to pass through that anyway.
Senator, not to interrupt you. People
We
have
had a
used the court.
situation, the confirmation hearing, the nomination, and for you know uh, for a Supreme Court justice and the LRA person, and I think it was being handled maturely. The Constitution became the way to go. Go to the court.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. We passed the stage now where people try to look for gun
Right.
to solve a problem.
Senator, we've passed that stage, but our recent past tell us that people can even use the code for the wrong reason. You were there when Justice Janet was impeached because people can use the code to do the wrong things. Agree?
Yeah, but it didn't end. So it's good you raise it. So this is our last action. We have 20 senators who signed a resolution to accept the decision of the court. And the 55th or the new government definitely will deal with this question to accept the decision of the ECOWAS court. So people are still working along the legal lines that certainly better than, not that it will not happen. We still have bad laws. We still have bad institutions. Again, the fact that you have a sitting president stands in the court or outside the courtroom, insults the court. It tells you that the world still has problems.
Mm-hmm.
If we are having a debate about what's going on between Israel, what Israel is doing in Gaza, I mean, many times these are things that you never believe will happen in the broad daylight, in the face of human beings, but it doesn't make it right. So some people decide to take it to the ICC. That's a better way than for us to now begin the next stage, for us to use nuclear weapons to end a conflict. No.
Right. But what I was driving at, Senator Wesseh, is the incoming Buakari government trying to use that same means, because you can go to the Supreme Court and you can have your people there who will say, "Oh yes, he shouldn't do this." So I think going that route was reminding me of the Kabina Janet scenario. You don't think so?
But the Kabina Janet scenario was I'm telling you that it has not succeeded.
It succeeded. He was
I
taken
mean,
out.
yes, but that's no success because the law is still in favor of Kabina Jane. We signed on to the international court, to the ECOWAS court, and the ECOWAS. So the problem has been with the government. The outgoing government is the one that want to become a lawless government.
And that's
I
why we
doubt
don't.
if
That's what we
will
don't
be a
want the
lawless.
we don't want the Buakari government to do. But you're talking about the code, the ECOWAS ruling, right? The Kabina Janet
Yeah,
case was not the only ECOWAS ruling. Also, Nancy Bido, right? So is the
yeah.
Senate? Have you also signed something for that case, or is only Kabina Janet?
No, because in the case of Kabina Jane, it was a Senate that took the decision. It was a Senate that is found in violation of law. In the case of Kabina Jane, I mean the Nasido is a code that it was a matter. It was a private matter that extended to the
To the
and
ECOWAS.
no, it was not brought to the Senate to determine. If they had come to the Senate, we told them no, keep to the court. In this case, the Senate acted in according to the ECOWAS court, and those of us who supported, um, who did not support the removal because of what we believe was outside the law, you know, continued our position, and now we're getting more and more senators in support of us. And even after the 54th, I'm sure the 55th will be much, much more friendlier to this question.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Between the Headlines. It's a one-on-one with Senator Conmany B Wesseh as the outgoing senator from River G. Senator, I want to bring in some callers here if they have few questions or comments. But before that, let's talk about Yeka Koluba. Yeka Koluba has been I call him the darling of the opposition. In spite of the way he spoke, he was being hailed by the opposition, including the Unity Party. In fact, he declared himself, Unity Party member, ANC member, and he was in spite of his language, he was being hailed by these people. Now, his assault have been trying to President Buakari in the Unity Party. He's saying some stuff and not trying to shoot the messenger. He's saying, well, where for instance, Mr. Buakari has just donated 55,000 to victims of the Tututa tragedy. He said, where is he getting the money from? He has spoken over and over that he lives on loan, and Yeka is saying a lot of things. Should we listen to him, or what do we do with this Yeka guy? How you look at him?
Well, I mean, I think one of the good examples set by President Weah was not to Yeke. I mean, of course, the House of Representatives denied him his salary and a few things. They tried to really make things difficult for him. But in the end, he did not relent. So I think that we listen to him. There are some things he says that if we don't agree with, that may be factually inaccurate. We should be able to express the inaccuracy, deal with the inaccuracies. If the approach is not clearly, we know that his approach is not normal in some ways. But
Well, have you called him
I
out
don't.
in the past? You have not called him out.
Sorry?
Have you called him out in the past when he was doing this to President Weir?
I think many people had conversations with him. I have had conversations with him, and and say, I mean, you can say the same thing, but not like this.
Okay.
You can raise the same questions, but he is a man of his own. What we would that should not be allowed is if in his action a crime is being suspected, and then we should stop the commission of a crime. But if there's no crime, then we have to find ways to engage him. The same way we got him to support us, we will get him to understand that what you're saying can be achieved this way or the other way. And I'm one of the elders, with our experience. I think we still will be available to play that role.
Okay. So President-elect Bouaka is coming in with audit, investigation and asset declaration, all these things. Will it make sense for him to tell us where he got money from to 55,000 from to give to the victims? People also talk about his home renovation. I sent my reporters there, but they were not able to get anything. So, in the interest of transparency, should Mr. Bouaka talk about this thing? In fact, the campaign just ended, and has he made a report on the campaign money and be transparent about where he's getting money from to do these things?
I am not sure. First of all, I mean, this thing about audit, I think we shouldn't make audit sound like a buku man.
No, I agree. It's not.
Audit is a normal part of the governance process. So that I think that whomever has been running a given agency, including the legislature, they must be prepared to give account of what they did with public resources that they received. If there was a mistake or bad management, it can be corrected. It should be corrected. So that's the issue of what we say about audit. With respect to where Mr. Bouaka, the president-elect, took resources that he gave to the victims, one of the things I've been hearing was that I am not quite sure that he said he got the money from the bank or from his pocket. But what I understand is that since the thing happened, there have been donations that have come through his office, and he was able to use that to give. Now, would it have been better to give it to an agency? If he received such, turn it over to an agency of government, public agency, or authorized group that we know has the capacity to handle this type of situation. Yes, maybe that will reduce the exposure, the president exposing himself to this thing, that sooner or later we'll start seeing pregnant women coming to the home of the president to get money. So those are policy issues that I think by Yeke raising, that will sit down. People should sit down. I think President Bouaka is putting together his teams that they will sit around to address such policy issues and not to, just throw it out of the window and say it's nothing. It
Right.
is something. It's to be dealt with.
And it's more than policy, right? Because what we've witnessed, and when I say we saw, you say, well, what has happened in the past is people trying to influence. So when a president takes office, people come with grapes. People want influence. People want to influence decisions. So when he starts receiving gifts and donations that we don't know about, what image is that setting, especially for a government that is riding on transparency that the previous government is trying to replace now was not transparent, was not accountable to the people. Now we have no idea who's donating this money, who's giving him this money, because Throughout, we have never seen President Mr. Bwaka as an individual donate that amount of money. Who's behind it?
Well, I don't know.
Should he
I
tell us?
don't know.
Should he tell us?
Sorry,
Should he tell us?
can
Should Mr. Bwaka tell us where the money is coming from, the source of that,
I'm sure he would have no problem doing that.
and why
You
is he not
know,
doing it?
well, I mean, please, I think the old man uses his own time wisely. He takes his own time for everything. So in this particular case, he would answer according to his time. Eh? Press. He knows the right time. I think then, and the longer it takes, of course, you will keep raising the question. So you don't get tired too. If you want to get an answer, you ask a question, and he will choose the right time that you want to respond.
Should that be optional for him?
Well, there's no law that says when he should respond to every inquiry. I think it's again those
But
who are
there's a law
managing.
for transparency, right? There's a law for accountability and transparency.
Yes, yes, there is. There
Yeah,
is.
so we shouldn't be operating on his
Law
time.
does not say that anytime the media person asks you on this question, this is the time you should answer. So there are legitimate concerns. I would say there are legitimate concerns. Let's wait for him. I think it's not one of those things that you will just push under the table. No.
Right. And for asset declaration, others thought that this would be the best time for him to set the tune. How long should we wait?
Well, again, I am not quite sure, but he said he would do it, and the law makes that requirement of public officials. So I think we work within we got some time before President Bwaka takes office. So we never know
Right.
when he was going to require. Secondly, he's going to require his cabinet officers, his public officials that he will appoint, he will nominate to the Senate. You require them to do it.
Right.
The Senate, I think the Senate will be very robust with so many people of opposition in the Senate. They too will be interested in posing the right questions.
Right.
So for who got to go into, who are going into the service, we're looking for presidential appointments that will require them to go before the Senate.
Right.
I think they should be able to answer those questions.
Sure.
And I'm sure President Waka will ask them, among the things that he will look at before making the nomination will be the record of the individual.
Right. So yeah, from our recent experience with President Weah, he quoted, okay, the law does not require this. So I can declare to the LACC, but I don't have to tell you. If you want, use the Information Act. So, and what I'm trying to say, and since today is Sunday, let me use a biblical scenario, because there are certain things the law may not require. If you remember in the Bible, there was this guy who was traveling and fell among thieves. He was beaten and everything taken away. The first person who passed was a priest. He looked the other way. Then the Levite passed. He looked the other way. According to the law, these people did not break the law, but Jesus called them. And then there was a good Samaritan. So you don't have to break the law to be a bad person. So while it is true that the law may not require all these things, the law may not require, okay, you don't have a time frame to be transparent. Mr. Bwaka owe us this thing if we must have a break from what we went through for the past 6 years. Agree?
Hello?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
No, I didn't yet.
No. All right. I was saying for us to
I
have a
heard the biblical thing about the Levite, the priest,
right.
and all of them who
No, I said
passed by.
those who passed by did not break the law, but Jesus didn't give them any good marks. So President Bouakai may not be breaking the law, but he should do what is right, especially where we are coming from. Where President Weah couldn't, when he declared asset, we don't know why it is, but he said he was within the law. President Donald Trump said, I'm not even going to release my tax return. That's within the law. We want to break from the past. Can Mr. Bouakai give us that?
Well, I tell you, in 7 days, Mr. Bouakai will be taking the oath of office. I think he has a few days when he can make this declaration of his assets. He promised he was going to do it. Shortly after his inauguration. So so no law will be broken. But I think he will do the right thing. I expect that he will do the right thing.
Thank you. Let me read a few of our comments here that you can respond to. Dave just said, did you declare your asset prior to becoming senator?
You say that again?
He said, did you declare your asset prior to becoming senator?
Yes.
Kalebo Gonglo say, what do you think the incoming government should do about the War and Economic Crime Court?
Let's say economic crime court, eh?
Yeah, war and economic crimes.
Okay. You want to say a few of them, then I can comment on them?
Oh, okay. All right. Let me say a few of them.
They declare asset, right?
Yeah, declare
Before I
asset.
begin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think it is justified to make $8,000 monthly in an impoverished country like Liberia? For a senator to make about 8,000 in Liberia, do you think it's justified?
Okay.
And on gas slips, gas slip was something I think they say was put in place during interim President Salif time because people were not getting paid. Why do you need gas slip if you are making a very decent amount of money? Then the last one, we have many more, but let's stop on this one. Do you believe you have committed representative or self-serving representative?
Do I believe what?
That we have committed legislators or they are self-serving.
Okay.
And the same guy is talking about, he's even going back over 30 years. He said, you had all the solutions while you were criticizing the Tobos administration, but can you now acknowledge that leading a country out of poverty is an incredibly challenging task?
Okay.
All right, that will be it for now. If you can respond to this question and
Okay.
then you give your closing, we can close.
Well, let me start with the first. Yeah, I declare my asset that's required by law to be elected. Each who runs for public office must declare their assets, and that information is with the Elections Commission, and I think they forwarded to the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Economic Crimes Court, and again, this matter is something that I think that we do have a great deal of courts that are dealing with crimes, including economic crimes. We have even prosecuted people in the economic crimes court. there's something being linked. People say war and economic crimes. Now, war crimes, yes. I mean, I really, because I was signatory to the peace agreement, and when I signed the peace agreement as I think we talked about this before, as a guarantor, I was one of 6 Liberian guarantors of the agreement that was signed 20 years ago. This year, August 18 made us 20 years. I thought you were going to call me for us to talk about that time. But in that agreement, we avoided, part of the agreement avoided the creation of the War Crimes Court. Place of the War Crimes Court, the compromise was the TRC. So the TRC, because for those who were negotiating with, they would never have signed on to an agreement that said that when you sign this agreement, we are going to carry you to court. Mm-hmm. So people agreed that we would not, the compromise will be the TRC. So I just don't know how we want to do this. This war crimes is it to prosecute those who committed war crimes?
Yes.
Before now. Now the issue really is that we have there was a good reason why the decision was made not to create a war crimes court at that time and talk about the TRC. Now, some people have ideas of how this can be done, unless it's only a speech. I will make these speeches, and it sounds good in the ears that, oh, we are the supporters of war crimes and such and such. We need to be careful about something that is difficult, that is not implemented this time. There was the war crimes court in Sierra Leone. That's what, and they were only able to prosecute, I think, is it about 12 before, for the millions of dollars that was put in that creation in Sierra Leone. They do not, I think, except for Charles Taylor, I don't know who else is alive. Many of the people are dead. And no proper results came out of that prosecution process, because you're talking about the person who bears the greatest responsibility in war crimes prosecution. So that's but it sounds good in the ears. Some people are saying they want to do that. They let them fight to do it. But the agreement that I signed to, that I agreed to be a warrant, I signed as a guarantor, did not have that. And I want to still be a faithful guarantor.
That means the Unity Party shouldn't do it. That's what you are saying.
I'm not speaking for the Unity Party. I'm not here representing the Unity Party. I'm speaking for myself and my certain knowledge about the role we play in getting the peace agreement and to end the war in Liberia. And because of that role and the role I play in ending the war and signing the peace agreement as one of the few people still alive who is a signatory of the peace agreement, I would say I would not be the champion for one of the things that we did not sign for.
Thank you.
There was something about the justification of the salary.
You're right. Is it justified to make that money?
Why you need gas slip? No. I explained to you that I think we should readjust our policy. Must be very clear about what we are supporting. We want to invest in our social institutions, and policies must be informed by this, so that we have enough money in the budget for education so that people do not come to my house. Even myself, I don't need to pay money, so much money for my children to go to school. You know, if that is the case, why do we pay this type of salaries? We should be able to put first into place what we are supporting in the things that carry most money that people spend money on. Keeping our children in school, keeping the health sector working, making sure the roads are good enough so that our cars you don't keep changing a car and you need a $40,000 car when you can get with those. I mean, I was in Morocco the other day, and one of the, and you see all the people using all these simple cars, small cars, no matter what size of position you hold, because the roads are good. I go to River G one time. I have 2 vehicles now from River G that for every trip I made, it cost me, right now, there's one that I'm repairing, the people just came. It cost me, just for coming, it's costing me $1,500 US. You know, why? So all of that, where the money coming from? So we can do, when we invest properly, the salaries that people are paid. It makes sense that the salary is paid, but it can be changed by the policies that we implement.
Okay.
What we do is our budget focus, our budget on. When we do that, and the schools are free, from primary education to the high school is free, then people will not be expecting a senator or the people who come in the morning. You tell them, but you got a public school in your community to go to. Why are you not going there? Why are you coming to me to pay? If you want to go to your private school, well, that's your business. Then don't come to me to give you that money. If you don't want to go to the public hospital that is taken care of from childbirth to a certain age, then don't come to me. Then you know where you're going to get your money from. So in that case, people don't use it against me. The time to vote, they will say, the man you go to, then you sick, and they won't give you money. He won't give you money. Then they vote against you, and they vote for the person who just come and waste it in front of them. They don't ask them where you getting this money from. That's the same thing about the gas slip. It adds up to the salary that we make. You don't need, if you riding a engine that consumes so much fuel, it can't come from your salary to go up and down. That is why, if we have the proper infrastructure, our roads, our good roads, the cost of the vehicle will be taken into consideration. The cost of fuel that is consumed will be taken into consideration. The thing about whether they are committed legislators or self-serving legislators, well, it's not unto me to make the judgment about elected. Those who are elected are the ones that got a majority vote. Election is not to determine good people and bad people. Election is to determine who the majority have chosen. Understand this? Elections are the process by which the electorate choose the majority of them will choose the person who gets the majority. So if the person gets elected, it doesn't mean they're good. Oh, those who get elected, when I was elected, it wasn't because I was the best guy in town. Similarly today, those who get elected may be thieves, and they will be they may be elected by those who believe that this person, and without asking where the person got the money from and give it to you, then you must be prepared to say, if the man is a cheat thief, you, as a beneficiary of theft, that you yourself you're a thief. So, so at this point now, it is not unto me to say this legislature is good or this is self-serving. All I can say is that our democratic process allow for people to become our leaders who have the majority vote. So legislators who got the majority vote are now the senators and the representatives. They may be bad, they may be good, there may be very good ones among them. There will be some who may not be good. Nobody asks them even how they speak or what the idea is, what idea they have in their head. No. They, yes, did something. Maybe sometimes it's not the money they spread to them, the bags of rice, but maybe they speak the same language in a manner that a few people like. Or some people can dance well. Just that alone get them elected. Whatever it is. So, and the other one is what was, I'm not quite sure, the last question that had to do with solution. Oh, when we're fighting, yeah, we're fighting in the past about looking for solution to our problems to address issues of poverty and underdevelopment. Yes, like one of my friends say, let's check. Let's check for those who really stood and made the various sacrifices that people like to call, the progressives, they did this, the people of the period. How many of them got elected to become president? I mean, even the people for whom they fought were the people who denigrate them, who undermine them, who call them names. They don't mind other men like poverty. They run kind of against them. Some of our great leaders, not that they didn't make effort to want to be president, some of our leaders, the only person who succeeded was during the interim period where Dr. Sawyer became interim president. And he was successful because he held on to the real foundation of the peace process, the peace agreement that we continue to live by until we got ultimate peace, being implemented by Dr. Sawyer. And he did well. And nobody held him for stealing public funds during the time he was interim president. The others who have tried, Dr. Tipote, Boyman Fambule, a couple of Marcus Matthews and Diu Tuan Remessing and others who tried, didn't succeed. For a while, I was the only person in the Senate who come from that era who won elections. Who were there, they were thrown out or they didn't succeed at all. And some of the younger people, who have this, who stand up and say they're going to fight for change and they're ready to make the sacrifice for it. They don't go anywhere. They are told, you put that man there, you make sure we get poor. That's somebody who says, this is the proper way you can use your resources so that we'll not waste money on individual salaries, but so that our schools will function, so that our hospitals will function. They say, you mind that man, you will be you'll be poor.
Yeah.
But you are poor. Really, you are poor. We're looking for people who are trying to get you out of poverty. Those are the things we fought for. And I continue to believe that they are right. Who believe it, they may not have been as vocal, but who are still around, who are doing things. And we must encourage them. And then we encourage the media people who will help understand that I can promote such people and such ideas.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Wesseh, for coming to sit with us. My last question, you can use that to conclude, is there anything that President Weah did well that you can credit him for? And to what extent do you want the Bouakai administration, and I know you have listed some of the bad things that he did, to what extent do you want the Bouakai administration to be a departure from President Weah's administration? And want you to combine that in your closing. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here.
Well, let me say one of the things that President Weah did well and very good was the last thing he did before leaving office, which is to concede to the elections, to appreciate the elections, to I mean, it's not a favor. Let's get it straight. The law says when the election results come and there is a majority vote, we must recognize that majority. But because in most parts of our continent, people do not, some people have been refusing to accept or to even allow the proper thing to be done. So that is why when Mr. Weah stood out to accept the results and congratulate President-elect JNB, that's why it's getting so much the adulation that is seen that is great. It is great, and we want to thank for it. The other thing is during this period that you have people like Yeke can say what his views, and Mr. Weah, maybe he tried, maybe he wanted to do it, but at least we didn't see troops in the street chasing. Even though some groups did it to the students and to other groups and beat them up, and Mr. Weah didn't say a word about those things. But generally, I think some things of this nature to allow free speech and stuff happen. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else? I have a serious problem to find those things. Yes, yeah. Unless you remind me because even the football we play.
Let me remind you.
We hardly ever won a game.
So let me remind you, and we're going to have a show here on Focus on Liberia to go through some of these things. So let me remind you, the passage of the Land Rights Act, the passage of the Local Government Act, the passage of the Revenue Sharing Law, the currency reform, so the new bank note, the passage of dual citizenship law, harmonization, the reactivation of the Bureau of State Enterprises, the operation of the National Fishery and Agriculture Authority, the Emory Hospital, the Sport Park, digitalization of the LRA, the rural housing and electrification, free WAEG, free college tuition, and the Abdullah Kamara Act, among others. People are saying those are great things that he did.
I'm laughing about some of these things because there is hardly any one of the things you're talking about that was not the process did not start that came out of some of the things came out of the peace agreement and Mrs. Sirleaf administration, and structures were set into place. The things were already done. They were just a matter of delivery, and to the extent that I personally beat my chest when I say some of the things that I succeeded doing was the thing we fought for. We say power to the people. And so the Local Government Act was one of the things we fought for. The land rights, we all had found out that the war that we had, the next source of war would have been if we didn't do the Land Rights Act. So those were not policy generated under Mr. Weah. He just happened to be there for the signatures. So let's do that. Now, you're talking about these little things, these sports pack that you go, that everyone tells you that this is the end of the football of the airfield. That's the end of the airfield. Do not put football, do not put a pitch there. Liberia full of plenty spaces. Why this one? Only because you play football there, so you put something there. Those things happen. I love the idea that maybe that would be one of the things that at the PHP, because I know that area. But the sense of history would tell us that was where people were executed, and we want to remove that thing from our mind. Those are little projects, tiny little projects, and the value of those projects must be measured by where the resources came from, how much was spent for it. It's not just because if you know how much was spent, then you might be sorry that money was spent to do that stuff, that type of stuff.
So how
things we talk.
To what extent do you want the Bouakai government to be a departure from the WIA? Let's set the stage for 2024 and beyond, right? What you want to see, and at what point will you say, JNB, you my man, but this one is not correct. So let's set that stage.
One of the major stuff is the things that I generalized into 3 points when I spoke about, this is a management time. And one of the most difficult part in management is recruitment of personnel, if you know that. I mean, so that it's not people walking up to the president and say, our time, don't give it to me. JNB and his team must pay great attention to the quality of people that are recruited, so that we don't have ignorance rewarded, and yet we expect something out of it. When somebody is ignorant, they're ignorant. They don't know what they're about. Then we have humility. The thing that build conscience on us is that arrogance that make us go. Even in the Bible, we had devotion this morning, and one of the things we're saying, what are the 6 sins in Proverbs 6 and 16 to 19, where the Bible tells us the 6 sins, and for 2 times they think about lies. The Bible mentioned lies. It starts with haughtiness, proud, being arrogant. That those things in all our policy things will be reflected. And of course, corruption. We have had or follow ways by which we should fight corruption. You see, we expose ourselves to so much corruption that some of our brothers and sisters now who have trouble with our international friends and stuff, is because if there were strict rules, strict policies, that people will be reminded all of the time that if you do this, you will get into trouble. Because some of these people were not born to be thieves, to be corrupt, but they were allowed for things to happen continuously until they start believing that this was the right thing they were doing. So Mr. Bouakai, his team, will want to pay attention to the structures we put into place to protect good people. The reason why we have locks to doors is not to stop thieves from entering our homes. The reason why we have the high gates, high walls, is not to stop thieves. It's to stop honest people from being tricked or being tested, to be enticed into doing the wrong thing. The police will always tell you, lock your car. When you park your car, lock the car. Don't leave phones on the dashboard or on that when anybody passing look through, they will see this bag that the guy would think has some money. So the guys who want to steal, they'll steal. And good people could be tempted if you leave the door open for them to open and take the bag away. So do not. That means we must spend time into developing the structures on that will fight, that will prevent good people from stealing, from getting into trouble. And our country does have good people, very good people who have been given public offices. But we must not let them be tempted. Don't tempt them to become thieves. So
Thank you.
that's the thing I see
Thank
in
you.
under the Wheeler administration. I mean, look at this the massive structures that people are building in broad daylight, no shame. If there were something checking on the quality of where you can auditing our lifestyle, if people knew that there will be, then if they even to know that when you take certain amount of money to the banking reviews and begin to ask questions. Where you got this money from? Yes, it happens in the United States. Eh? I little $5,000 and trying to get it into the my account was hell for me. And at one time they sent message, you brought this money, we don't know where you got it from. $5,000. Eh? I mean, there's a legitimate money that I saved. Eh? My account is closed as a result of that. So we can do it here to prevent good people from being tempted. There are many good people. These people that we hear about what's going on in Rwanda, in this country and that country, they're not from space. They are not from the moon. They are
Yeah.
not from heaven. They are from here, from their countries. We
Thank
can do it.
you. Amen. Senator, thank you so much. Let me have, for the last 2 minutes remaining, your closing, sir.
Well, I want to thank you. I see the FOL as one of the stations that keep trying to keep our feet to the fire. I think you should continue to do it, and you do it so professionally and so respectfully. I think we should continue to raise questions and keep reminding the administration of. We can't keep making excuses for anybody. I respect JNB very much, but unless we keep reminding him about the responsibilities, I mean, some people say we shouldn't expect too much. Okay, expecting too much meaning people want, this job and that job and all of that. But I think what people must continue to expect too much is to fight that he will work hard to fight against corruption, because we'll save money if we just get things. I mean, the legislature we're talking about, you can really cut down on expenses. All these the institutions, the public corporations, and the ministries. What is happening there? We can cut down on the cost and then apply those to the services that are most needed, that are education, our health, our roads, and encouraging our business, so that our business institution will prosper. That Liberia will begin to produce and just produce, so we don't sit and complain all the time. The Lebanese people, some illiterate Lebanese boy comes here, we give him all the opportunity, or Indian boy, or this and that. They're not bringing the money from the moon. That's our money that they are using. So what can we do to support Liberian business? I think those are the things that when people expect of JNB, they are not expecting too much. Yes. And those with various experiences should be given an opportunity. I think you should have the time to pay attention to various views, and set up the appropriate institutions where ideas can be exchanged, and then we look for the outcome that we can implement and have the right teams to implement those things. This is my little contribution. Yes.
Thank you.
I think he's a good man, but he needs all the support, including the support from the media. Let's don't vomit any bad news. Liberia is too good for all of this. We have, for us to be seen with so many of our citizens who are being sanctioned, it's not very nice. It makes those of us who are patriots and fighting and saying, like, this is not Liberia. Liberia is better than what we are perceived to be. You know, I think we have to work so that the real Liberia is seen. That we can be, our name can be just soiled like that. And I'm happy that many people are thinking similarly. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And want to thank our viewers for watching. We now close the broadcast with our song that says, "We are all Liberian." God bless you and have a good day, sir.
We are.
Thank you, Dennis.
Liberia is our home.